Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Caitlin with Ormond Arms, and today we are going to discuss the top 10 mistakes that people make when building or purchasing firearms. So we have Frank here with us today,
Thanks,
and he is going to help us out.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of mistakes that people can make. Broke it down to what I found are the key 10 points, and those key 10 points have a number of little things in them. So I'll say the number one mistake that people make by reading the forums, what questions people come to me is gun safety, gun education.
Okay.
People coming to me, I'm really into the AR-15 platforms or the AR platforms. And then when I talk to them, you realize they don't know anything about guns whatsoever. They've never taken a gun safety course. They're not even familiar with what the parts are of the firearm. So I always recommend, if you're getting into guns, go get a gun safety course, hunting class, take a CCW or concealed weapons class, and familiarize yourself with at least modern guns, how they work, gun safety laws, gun legislation, because that's really where you're going to get yourself in trouble. You buy a firearm and you don't know anything about it. It's like getting in a car and never learning how to drive and expecting to know how to drive. Mm-hmm. You're not going to, get into a, Indy 500 vehicle and never trained or practiced for it and expect to not crash it.
Yeah.
So I'll say the second mistake that people do, which kind of follows that, is what's the next step after you've educated yourself, is where are you going to buy your gun from? Mm-hmm. So are you buying from a reputable person? Are you buying from a pawn shop? Are you buying from a fly-by-night? Are you buying the products for your firearm from companies that are in China? I've seen people buy parts because they look like the parts and they're buying from airsoft. And we've had people buy buffer tubes for airsoft and they'll attach because the airsoft industry is modeled off actual real guns, real scale size. There are some differences, and there was an incident where a person put a buffer tube on with an adjustable stock and fired it. Well, the buffer tube does not have a back end on it, so the whole buffer, spring, and bolt, everything went into his shoulder. Ooh. So make sure you're buying from the right companies. You're buying from reputable people that will follow through with you on the phone calls if there's a problem. They'll warranty the work if there's something wrong with the product. So that's really key, is don't just go to somebody you find. Pawn shops, a lot of problems with there is that these are second-hand guns. There's really not a history of where that gun came from in gun maintenance. Try to buy from people referred or recommended gun dealers. So that's really is know where you're buying it from. 3 that kind of leads into that is the product. The products that you're buying, people, you want to buy Ormond Arms here. These are, the quality charging handles. I've seen people buy stuff because it's cheap. They say, hey, I got it for, $2, something. And, average cost, let's say, is $20 for something. So you're buying it for $2 and knowing the average cost is anywhere between $10 to $30. Mm-hmm. I would question a $2 part if that's not what, the low and high goes on normal. So that would be the key thing, is when you're buying, again, that kind of goes back to buying an airsoft buffer tube and it's not actually meant for what you're using. Then that kind of leads into your generational stuff. And I refer to ARs, but there's a lot of guns out there from infields to ARs. It doesn't matter if it's American-made, British, French. Almost every gun platform has different generations of models, and things are not compatible between them. So I'm not talking about taking an AR part and putting it on an infield. I'm talking from infield, number 1, number 2, number 3 in the MK series. Those will not necessarily always fit. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So make sure you get the gens. AR-10, now this is an AR-15 here in 300 blackout. This is the build you did in your last video.
Yeah.
The AR-15 is a smaller upper compared to the 308. 308 is much larger. And there are people who will buy, and I have here, this is a Gen 1 AR-308. So DPMS themselves, DPMS is actually a company. And so this is a pattern DPMS. It's basically based on the style that DPMS has. So what DPMS did with their Gen 2, Gen 1, Gen 2, they went to the AR-15, same bolt carrier group, but that bolt carrier group actually works on a 308. So when you were to put these up together, you're about 3/4 of an inch too short with the new one. So you're going to buy, going like, hey, I got an 80%, 308, cool, I'm going to put it on my 308 upper. Well, that's a Gen 2, this is a Gen 1. They won't fit. What you're going to explain to them is I machined it out or whatever, it's serialized, it's a gun. You can't really ask to return something you made a mistake on buying. If there's something faulty on it, that's different. So make sure you understand the gens, understand that. And that kind of goes back to the number one issue is education. Don't run into buying something when you don't know anything about it. You know, read, watch videos, talk to professionals. I think the big thing that a lot of people are doing that's right is watching the videos, watching these videos. So a lot of those people who are watching these videos have avoided the first mistake, is not knowing. So now they're trying to learn. So it shows a good thing that they're actually trying to understand. So the fifth mistake is tools. So, you know, I've seen people on forums and I've talked with them asking what kind of tools, how much do they need to spend, where can they get them from? Most of the tools I use you can get from any, you know, big box store, any, you know, home improvement store, your local hardware. Very few tools are based on this. Again, like in previous videos we talk about the armorer's tools. Really, the only thing on the armorer tool, there's two things that are really key to using for ARs, is your castle nut and your barrel nut parts of the tool. But if you're looking at other guns, most other guns, if you get like military surplus, those were put together with regular tools on the market in tooling shops. They didn't try to make special tools for them. Okay. So make sure you get good quality tools. I have an adjustable wrench. I've seen people buy the cheap ones from some of those cheaper tool stores that are made of plastic or cheaper materials, and is, you know, after a couple times using it, the handle breaks or the screw breaks. So make sure you're getting good tools. That's the key thing. Number 6. I think, and it's number 6, it doesn't mean it's number 6 in the line. I think it's really critical, and it kind of goes back to number 2 and number 1, is what are you buying the gun for? What are you building the gun for? And I get a lot of people say to me, what do you recommend? And my first comment to them is questions, really, was what do you want to use it for? What are you doing with it? And they'll say to me, well, I want it for home defense. Okay, great. And then they'll say to me, well, I still want to be able to shoot 400 yards and hit the bullseye. Well, this is a 300 blackout. This is the gun I recommend for home protection over 5.56 223. And the reason for that is 300 blackout, it's not going to go through every wall in your house and hit your kids when you're trying to defend yourself against an intruder. 223 5.56 is a supersonic round. It has a lot of over penetration. So you're going to hit the guy who's trying to kill you or somebody in your family, and then you end up killing your family because it goes through him and hits your kid. So every gun, just like a tool, you have the right tool for the job. I mean, you can use an adjustable wrench to get a nail in. You're going to damage it, probably damage your wall, hit your knuckles. It's not going to do a beautiful job. Where the hammer is going to put that nail in. So, you know, what are you using it for? That's the big thing, is try to get the tool, which is your firearm. It is a tool for the job that you're trying to design it for. So that's one of the big questions is, you know, you're not going to use a 300 blackout with a 7 or 10 inch barrel to hit a target at 400 yards. You need a 16 or 18 inch barrel. And then you're going to get to the caliber. So you can get really deep into that question. Number 7 on my list, which is, it is weird. We put them in 10, but some of these, for some people, maintenance, which is my number 7, can be their number 1, is they buy the gun, and guys say, well, I bought it, was shooting it today, first time out, and then suddenly it stops cycling. Because when you buy the gun, they think, okay, just go and I drive it. You know, it's like your car. You got to put oil, you got to rotate the tires, you got to put new brakes. They think they don't need to do anything. Then it's wrong. You know, your gas blocks, you need to make sure you tighten those up. every time you go out shooting, when you buy it, make sure everything is lined up. Because if you're buying a gun that's produced by one of the big names, it's not necessarily going to be a custom blueprinted rifle where a gunsmith spent a week on your gun alone and everything is really fine-tuned. So you want to make sure everything is good, because they're in there slapping it together, putting it together, put it in a box, send it out to the retail stores. Some things might be off. But after shooting too, things loosen up. So go through your gun, make sure it's, you know, there. You got things are oiled up. Make sure everything is sliding and working fine. You know, kind of examine it. And that kind of goes into one of my other points, you know, in this list of 10. So that, you know, going to number 8 is one of my pet peeves. And people say, hey, I got a great deal. I went and bought this AR or DPMS. And they said I bought $500-600, complete gun. You know, lower, upper, out the door, can go to the shooting range and shoot it. And their full intention is to do some upgrades. And before they even bought the gun, they went and shopped online for this cool handguard, or this charging handle, or this cool, you know, muzzle brake, and maybe pistol grips and butt stocks. And they tell me you spent way more than you should have, because you can go to Ormond Arms, buy all the components from Ormond Arms, and there's different selections. For example, you have a blue charging handle versus a red charging handle. Here you have an ambidextrous charging handle, and I like these. These are all on my guns. So, yeah, these aren't expensive. I mean, I think this is what, these are what, $20-25, something like that. So you've paid for that charging handle, and you don't like it when you bought that complete gun. Then you're going to go drop another $25-30 or more, because some of these, I've seen some charging handles go up to $150-200 depending on the setup. So your best bet is, you know, you get your upper and lower from Ormond Arms. You might like a handguard from so-and-so. Shop around, buy the parts, and you'll find that you'll build the perfect gun that you wanted in the end for about the same price it cost you to buy that complete gun you didn't like, but we're buying as your base firearm to modify. So it's better to buy the parts individually if you're going to go that route. That's what I'd say is build the gun. It's your best bet, unless you're getting, you know, I just purchased a 303 Enfield, British Enfield, for a couple $100. That's a market, that's a military surplus. It's a little bit different. You're not going out there buying the bolts and stuff like that, because that's not available. But there are stocks and other accessories that you will put on that firearm. So again, everything comes back to number 1, education. Learning this market for that particular firearm. You know, I carry a Glock. Glock has, I think right now for the 19 and 23, they're on Gen 5. So if I have this gun, I want to put something on it, you know, years down the road, fine. But I didn't buy the gun and say, well, I'm going to buy this gun and I'm going to go get this slide. And so, you know, try to build it if you want something custom. And that goes into number 9, function and looks. A lot of people buy the look of the device over its function. Cool, it's red, you know. If it's great, you know, for a home defense firearm, but it goes back to that question of they want it for home defense, they want it for hunting. There is a middle ground on some guns. But if you were to take this out there with a stainless steel flash and some bright colors on it, and it's a carbine, and it's good for home defense, and it's good for hunting. Problem is, though, it's too flashy for hunting. It's a good gun for hunting, but you got all this stuff that really, you know, is attracting the animal's attention when you're out hunting for a deer. The deer sees it flickering and glittering because you got the light hitting off your stainless steel barrel and your stainless steel muzzle brake. So make sure you're getting parts that are functional to what you're using it for. If it's home defense, it's not so critical. You know, I have a 300 blackout pistol, and they're identical to my 5.56 223 guns. Now, when you get a 300 blackout, everything's the same, magazine, everything. The only difference again is the barrel on it, and the magazine for 223 5.56 is the same for 300. In the night, if somebody breaks in your home and you reach for one of your guns and you grab your 300 blackout and you grabbed a 5.56 223 mag, you're shooting the wrong ammunition, and vice versa. So my buffer tube on my 300 blackout, which is dedicated for home protection, is Cerakoted in white. So in the night, I can identify my 300 blackout. Yeah. I'd recommend in that case off note from the function is some orange, pink, white paint on your mags to identify your 300 blackouts. So, because they're the same, you want to make sure you differentiate those. Because then at night you don't want to be grabbing a box of 300 blackout and loading the mag while somebody's breaking your home. So that leads to number 10 is rushing to build or rushing to purchase products. And all these kind of tie in together. It's, buying a AR-15 upper, and then going by AR-15 Gen 1, and then by Gen 2, you didn't pay attention, you were excited, you got some money back or from taxes or, birthday, or got a bonus at work, and you get excited. I always tell people, go and check your products. And, one of the things that I do is you can get schematics and you measure, make sure everything on the part matches. It's where it's supposed to be. Because once you, for example, on an 80, mill it out, you cannot return it. It's now legally by ATF and federal law a gun with no serial numbers on it. So make sure you inspect everything and don't rush into it. Because if there's any mistakes and things off, that kind of goes back to the number 2, who you're buying it from. Are they selling you junk? If something's wrong with it and it was a one-off situation, are they going to refund it? Are they going to honor warranties? So you want to make sure that, again, don't rush. If you look at companies like Ormond, they'll respond to you. They'll make it right. They'll get you the right products. They'll help you fix it. I shop at Brownells for a lot of things for my tools because they have a lifetime guarantee that if I'm never happy with it or something happens, I can return it for the life of it, as long as I'm the original owner. They'll take it back and give me a new one, refund me the money. So that's a lot of it is not rushing in. Take your time. Go back to the number 1, education, safety. Know what you're buying, know what you're building, make sure everything is compatible. Even if you rushed and you bought it, make sure everything's right. Because I see people who will buy a product and then they'll come back 3 months later, something's off, something's wrong. Because they put it in a drawer and never looked at it. It stayed in the box until they got around to it. So, and it's odd because you're rushing to buy it, but then they don't inspect it or don't want to build it right now. Sometimes people rush because they hear a sale. Well, it's great. I want to get it while it's on sale. So, number 10, don't rush. Take your time. Again, this is a weapon. That's a tool. This is to defend yourself, to feed your family for hunting. It's something that it's not like rushing in and you're at the supermarket and you see a candy bar and you're hungry and you grab a candy bar. This is an investment. You're talking, some of these firearms go for, I think low end, you're looking around $400 to $600 on guns for AR platform. I have some friends who do custom blueprinted ARs. They go up to $1,700. So you rush in and you buy it and it's not what you want. They're guns. It's not so easily as walking back into Walmart and saying that the pair of jeans doesn't fit me. So, that's my 10 list, top 10 mistakes that people make. I hope that really helps you out.
Thank you, Frank, very much. That was very informative, and I hope that helped a lot of people answer any questions that they had. And please like, subscribe, comment, any more questions you guys have, and we will see you next time.